Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're focusing in on narcissistic injury and then how it relates to rage and trouble in interpersonal relationships with a narcissist. Now, we have healthy narcissistic needs, basically to be acknowledged, to be loved, to be validated, to feel good, to be reflected in a positive way, to have a strong sense of self, to have a strong sense of I am, to have a sense of ego. In other words, a presence in the world that is effective, that is harmonious, and much harmony and love to you who are viewers. And I really want to say thank you and really infinite gratitude to you who are on your life journey and work through this. The dance of the narcissist can oftentimes be very grueling and really be very painful. So much love and harmony to you who are out there on that journey. And I want to furthermore focus in on really the a lot of the cause of narcissistic hurt, and that is injury to the narcissist and their facade. Because really, if something is real, when it's tested, it will come through. Real security, real love, real faith, and real connection, which is developed over time. And oftentimes, with healthy parenting, that is more established, but it can also be learned later in life. The whole idea of you can't, teach an old dog new tricks, I don't believe in, because there is neuroplasticity where you can learn, where you create new brain synapses in your mind. And every fact that you learn, every new experience, you're creating new synapses. So you actually can teach a old dog new tricks. So to speak. So you can really create a new life story and have that transformation and metamorphosis. But I want to focus in here on really kind of that narcissistic bullying, the narcissistic injury, which causes the narcissist to have pathological lying and really hurt of others and lack of empathy and exploiting others and really their human side in order to further themselves or prop themselves up. And the narcissistic injury occurs for the narcissist when anything seems to attack their facade, their persona, their perceived status that they're trying to promote or really illuminate to the group, the family, the workplace, whatever it is the narcissist facade is trying to create and promote. So, for example, they might want to project the feeling of, I am a C-level executive. I am, I'm the most wealthiest. I am the astute businessman. I'm suave and debonair. That might be the ego narcissistic projection that they always want to promote and create. So rather than having you perceive them for the person that they are, in allowing you that opportunity to have your own perception and experience and really support them at that gut, reality level, which is very important. They really want to kind of project a persona which they want you to acknowledge them by. So for example, you might see a movie star, let's just say someone who we all might experience or know, for example, Elvis Presley. There's a common iconic figure. Now, if you were to encounter him, without his narcissistic projection, you might see him in his everyday life. You might have conversation with him. You might be able to see who he is and then, arrive at your own conclusions and then validate him for the real person that he is. Now, let's just say that same person, Elvis Presley, the father of rock and roll or the hip swing or, the that king of pop or king of rock that he is. Now, let's just say if you were to meet him and he always wants to project this rock star image, or he always wants to project this sort of facade or persona, which might be different from what he is. So let's just think, Marilyn Monroe, maybe somebody similar who had to always project the feeling of being a sex symbol or glamorous, yet in her everyday life, she might be an addict, she might be depressed, she might be crying, suicidal. So here we see the disparity, and I want to use someone iconic so you can really kind of compare this to the narcissist in your life, because they always want to project this image of them, of the rock star, the businessman, the pillar in the community, the golden child, the most talented musician. They want to have this confabulated, fabricated image, which is a facade, a mask persona, but yet there's the real person. And really, real relationships, you have to be able to embrace the real person within. And really, that is what's long lasting. That's what stands the test of time, and that is what you have faith in. And that you really let the doubt fall away when you're in touch with that true self, that true talent, and you're allowing that to live, and you're living from that space versus from the facade, the outer shell of, I have to be eating, an ice cream cone in a 3-piece suit. You can't just go there in some shorts and a t-shirt. You have to, always create the facade of who you are. So really, narcissistic injury is when you begin to see the little crevice, the little creak of that person, of who they are, and they want to shut that down. The narcissist really feels a sense of narcissistic injury if you see them anything less than that image, that persona, that facade, that character, that charm that they want to project. So they don't want the hair to be out of place. They don't want the car to have a smudge. They want to have this, or they might want to be very austere, very aloof, very withdrawn, like we see in the covert narcissist. Yet there's something where they participate in the relationship. They're not fully there. They haven't really tried hard enough. They haven't reached out enough. They haven't been guiding. They haven't, allowed themselves to love in that specific way because of an internal core feeling of hurt, shame, and humiliation, and feeling of inadequacy. So, there's a weak and shaky foundation that is really underneath the facade. So that's why eventually it's going to implode, or why eventually the facade is what erupts in anger. And that oftentimes is narcissistic injury, where they feel a blow to their facade. If you're able, if you're saying, oh my gosh, you're just coming from empathy and you feel sad, or you look sick, or what's wrong with you, can I help you? They're not going to want to connect. They're not able to connect at that level. They're going to beat you back. They're going to bully back. They're going to say, oh, I'm fine, thank you very much. They're just going to use some sort of act, and really just sort of a very sort of scripted way of deflecting you and pushing you off, and being very smug and very demure and acting very haughty and very arrogant. Yet it's an act. It's not a very genuine thing. And what is it that one of the most 7 deadly sins is pride and arrogance. So oftentimes they that is going to be their reaction. So you can't really interact very closely with these people. You don't feel a sense of closeness. You feel very much a distance. And there is such a thing as professional distance and respect, and that's honoring of boundaries. And so oftentimes, because the narcissist doesn't have these healthy boundaries, they must take more in order to feel more. They don't have a sort of boundary about themselves and a boundaries that they respect of others. They're going to want to surpass that and really sort of take over, dominate, and control. And they do that through narcissistic injury of others to kind of beat you to the punch, which is kind of like what the bully is. If they can overpower, dominate, and hurt, you're overpowered, dominated, and hurt. And how can you, test reality with, in coming from that space? You're coming from the constant reminder that you are less than. They're going to want to keep that in your mindset. And when you really grow through that and realize that they had tried to implant that seed, you can yank it out. You realize that it has nothing to do with reality. It has nothing to do with the real you. It is just a projection of narcissistic injury onto those people in their environment, in their family, in their inner circle, in their community, so that they can get ahead and they can be perceived along, the lines of how they want to be perceived, which is trying to control the control that really keeps them and a lot of their relationships out of control and out of happiness. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help you. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.